our previous meeting, we discussed how to multiply radicals. Again, in multiplying radicals, we consider the indices. We can multiply radicals if they have the same index, regardless of the radicals. This time, the focus of this lesson video will be the division of radicals. And the same with multiplication, we can divide radicals if they have the same index, regardless of the radicals. Basta parehas ang index, pwede natin ma-divide ang radical expressions. Okay? So I have here 7 examples. I'm going to show you how to divide radical expressions. So let's start off with this very simple example. Letter A, the square root of 35 divided by the square root of 7. It can be written in this form. And since they have the same index, pwede natin silang i-combine, pwede natin silang pag-isahin sa isang radical sign. So we have the square root of 35 over 7. And simplify the resulting expression. Simplify the radicand. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So we have to write here the square root of 5. Now, can we still simplify this expression? May square root ba si 5? Or may factor ba si 5 na may square root? None. So therefore, this is now the answer. Let's try letter B. It can also be written in this form. And since they have the same index, pag-isahin na lang natin sila. So we have this. Now, let's try to simplify first the radicand. Simply divide these two numbers. 32 divided by 8, it's 4. Next, x raised to 4 divided by x. Since the exponent here is not visible, it is understood to be 1. So x raised to 4 divided by x raised to 1 is equal to, what do we do in the exponent in this case? We subtract the exponents. So 4 minus 1, it's 3. So it's x raised to 3. Where should we put x raised to 3? Should we put it on the numerator or on the denominator? Since mas mataas yung exponent ng nasa numerator, mapupunta din sa taas yung x raised to 3. We put here x raised to 3. Next, y raised to 3 divided by y raised to 1 is, also we have to subtract the exponents. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have y squared. And where should we put y squared? We have to put y squared on the numerator. Is this now the final answer? Or it can still be simplified? Pwede pa siyang masimplify. So let's try. Is 4 a perfect square? Yes. So just copy 4. Let's have x cubed. Is 3 divisible by the index, which is 2? No. So get the factors of x cubed, wherein one of the exponents of that factors is divisible by 2. So the factors are x raised to 2 times x raised to 1. Next, y squared. Is 2 divisible by 2? Yes. So just copy. Let us now simplify. 4 has a square root, x squared has a square root, and y squared has a square root. So yung mga square root nila mapupunta sa labas. The square root of 4 is 2. So we put here 2. And the square root of x squared is x, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's x raised to 1, or simply x. Then the square root of y squared is equal to y. And natira sa loob si x. And this is now the answer in letter B. Let's have letter C. The square root of 75x raised to 8 y raised to 4 divided by the square root of 3x raised to 5 y raised to 4. And it can also be written in this form. Then, combine the radicands. Then simplify the radicands. 75 divided by 3, it's 25. Next, x raised to 8 divided by x raised to 5. Get the difference of the exponents, it's 3. X raised to 3, and we put here on the numerator. And y raised to 4 divided by y raised to 4 is equal to y raised to 0. Or any number when raised to 0 is equal to 1. But there's no need for us to put 1 here. And simplify this. 25 is a perfect square, so as is lang. While x raised to 3 is not a perfect square because its exponent is not divisible by 2, which is the index. So get the factors of x cubed. It should be x raised to 2 times x raised to 1, since one of the exponents of that factors is divisible by 2. So pwedeng makuna ng square root si 25 and si x squared. Square root of 25 is 5 and square root of x squared is x. Then just copy the square root of x raised to 1 or x. And this is now the answer in letter C. Let's come now to the fourth example. The fourth root of 35x raised to 5 divided by the fourth root of 7. So write the expression in this way. Then combine the radicands. Mag-isahin sa iisang radical sign. Then simplify the radicand. 35 divided by 7 is 5. And x raised to 5, mag-isa lang naman siya. Wala namang ibang variable na pwedeng i-combine sa kanya. So just copy x raised to 5. Then, since 5 is not a perfect square, and wala naman na siyang factors na may fourth root, just copy 5. While the fourth root of x raised to 5 can still be simplified by getting the factors of x raised to 5. The factors should be x raised to 4 times x raised to 1 because 4 is divisible by 4, which is the index. So, ang may fourth root lang ay si x raised to 4. Siya lang yung mapupunta sa labas. The fourth root of x raised to 4 is x raised to 1 because 4 divided by 4 is 1. Then, copy 5 and x. And this is now the answer. Letter E. The square root of 8 plus the square root of 24 divided by the square root of 2. So it is somewhat different from the first 4 examples. So again, it can also be written in this way. Now look at the expression. Pwede nating paghiwalayin yung numerator. This expression can be divided into 2 partial fractions. So this expression is equivalent to this expression. Kung mapapansin nyo dito sa expression na ito, isa lang yung denominator, di ba? And ibig sabihin yan, yung denominator ng first term and second term na expression na to ay parehas the square root of 2. That's why we have this. Then again, just combine the radicands. Then simplify the radicands. 8 divided by 2 is 4 plus 24 divided by 2 is 8. Of course, 4 has a square root and it is 2. What about the square root of 8? 8 is not a perfect square, but we can get the factors of that, wherein one of that factors has a square root. The factors are 4 and 2. Copy 2. The square root of 4 is 2. Mapupunta siya sa labas. And copy the square root of 2. Do you think this is now the final answer? Yes. Kasi hindi naman natin siya pwedeng i-combine. Kasi ito, whole number, ito may radical sign pa. And these two terms cannot be combined anymore. So this is now the answer. Now look at letter F. 2 over the square root of 3. Ma'am, do we still have to divide this? Do we still have to simplify this expression? Yes, because rational expression that contains a radical in the denominator is not considered simplified. Okay? So we have to get rid of this radical sign in the denominator. And how are we going to do that? A process called rationalizing the denominator is needed. Copy 2 over the square root of 3. So again, we have to get rid of this radical expression in the denominator. You're going to think of an expression when multiplied by the given expression, mawawala yung radical sign sa denominator. And paano yun mangyayari? You have to consider the denominator of the given rational expression. So in this case, it's the square root of 3. Ano kaya ang imumultiply sa 3 para magkaroon siya ng square root? What do you think? It's the square root of 3. Because the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9. And 9 is a perfect square. It has a square root which is 3. So in that way, may eliminate natin yung radical sign. So we have to write here the square root of 3. And kung ano yung nilagay sa denominator, yun din yung ilalagay sa numerator. Okay? So let's do it. 2 times the square root of 3 is simply 2 the square root of 3 over the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9. Then again, 9 has a square root, so we write the numerator cannot be simplified anymore, so just copy to the square root of 3, while the denominator can be simplified by getting the square root of 9 which is 3. Nagawa ba nating maalis yung radical sign sa denominator? Yes. And if you're going to look at the resulting expression, hindi naman na siya pwedeng masimplify pa. So this is now the answer. I hope it's clear to you. Let's have the last one. The square root of 3 divided by the square root of 2. So again, you have to apply rationalizing the denominator. Again, consider first the denominator. It's square root of 2. Ano kaya ang dapat i-multiply sa square root of 2 para maging perfect square yung radicand natin? It's the square root of 2. Because the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. And square root of 4 is 2. So mawawala na yung radical sign. So we write here the square root of 2. We also put here the square root of 2. Then perform the operation. The square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is square root of 6 over the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is square root of 4. And 6 is not a perfect square and wala naman siyang factor na may square root. So just copy the square root of 6 and square root of 4 is 2 and this is now the answer. Now some of you might say na kung ano pala yung nasa denominator ng given rational expression, yun din yung imumultiply sa kanya. No, hindi sa lahat ng oras. See, for example, let's say we have 6 over the cube root of 4. Hindi pwedeng the cube root of 4 din yung imultiply mo. Kasi ang magiging resulta nito ay 6 the cube root of 4 over the cube root of 16 because 4 times 4 is 16. 16 does not have a cube root. So mag-iisip ka talaga ng kailangan i-multiply sa denominator para ma-eliminate yung radical sign. So in this case, ano kaya ang pwedeng i-multiply sa 4 para magkaroon ng cube root yung radicand dito? It should be the cube root of 2. Because if you're going to get the product of this, it's 6 the cube root of 2 over the cube root of 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 has a cube root which is 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So the answer here is 6, the cube root of 2 over 2. So that's how we divide radical expressions. Thank you for listening.